this session, each participant will learn how to determine what are the indirect costs incurred in producing and selling their goods or in rendering their service. And each participant should be able to differentiate between indirect costs and direct costs. And we should be able to estimate the monthly indirect cost of goods or service. And finally, this session, we will learn how to cost the indirect cost per item of your goods or service. What are indirect costs? From your own understanding, what do you think are indirect costs?
Cost of power, energy.
Cost of energy, yes. Yes, cost of internet service.
Rent.
Rent, yes. Cost of rent is also an indirect cost. When you say the rent, the internet, it's not directly involved in producing value. So all those other costs are termed indirect costs. And another term for indirect cost is fixed costs. Indirect costs, they remain constant. Let's say you are a bag manufacturer. You don't pay the rent based on how many bags you produce. Your rent is fixed. So that's why they are also known as fixed costs. But they can also increase. Like the landlord can decide to increase his price. That would increase the rent, isn't it? But the increase is not as a result of increase in production. I want us to classify these costs. In our manual, we studied city garbage producers. They make organic compost from waste. Waste like vegetables. Is it fixed or variable? Is it indirect or direct?
Direct.
It's direct. What about the chicken manure? Direct. What about the wages of part-time workers?
Indirect.
Let's look at it again. Wages of part-time workers. These workers, they only work when they are producing the manure.
Direct.
They are direct. So what about electricity and water?
Indirect.
Indirect. What about insurance?
Indirect.
Transport. At the end of the month, the owners of the company, they pay themselves a salary. Their wages, is it direct or indirect? Indirect. If you put a signboard outside now, AMAC, they are coming to permit for that signboard to put outside. Is that a direct cost or indirect cost? Indirect. And marketing expense, advert, how you use to market your business, is it direct or indirect? It's indirect. City garbage, organic producers or manure, they use herbs to produce that manure. These herbs are so tiny you cannot measure it in each bag of manure. So how do you think would be the best way to cost these herbs?
Cost of the herbs and how much you want to sell it for, so you know how to portion it.
Maybe I'll leave that one until we get to the costing. Why is it important we include the indirect cost when we are costing our products?
Because they are important for production, like electricity and water.
Yes. Yes. You need all these things for your business to run. If you set a price without knowing the cost of your product, there's a possibility you might set a price that is far below what your product costs, especially when you don't take into consideration all the other indirect costs. When costing for a product or service, we first need to estimate all the variable costs, then estimate all the fixed costs, which are also called indirect costs. And then when we add both of them, we get the total cost of our product or service. The steps to take when calculating your fixed cost or your indirect cost. I have broken them down into 4 steps. Step number 1, calculate the small variable cost, which we also consider as fixed cost, like the herbs that I talked of. To observe how much herbs did you use for the whole month. You divide it by the number of products it was used to produce. That way, you will get the cost of
the herbs.
in each individual bag of organic compost. Let's take the example of the herbs. If the unit cost is 50 naira a kilogram, and for the whole month we used 10 kilograms, what's the total cost for that month? 500 naira. That will be the total cost. Then the next cost we need to cost. Wages that do not vary with production time. Make a list of all the staff we have, their salaries. That way we'll get the total cost of the people who work in our company that do not vary with production time. We have Peter, he's the sales rep, and his salary is 50,000 a month. Whether he sells or not, he has a fixed salary. The commission is based only on what he sells.
Direct.
That is direct. So for somebody like Peter, his wages will fall both indirect and direct. So you have to consider when you are costing for him. The total wages that are paid in this scenario, 170,000 naira. That we need to cost cost that you do not pay every month. Like your rent, you do not pay it every month. Can I have an example of another cost that is not paid every month? You pay annually. Yes, like your, what is it? Insurance.
License renewal.
Insurance. Your license renewal. You get the cost per annum and then the cost per month. And when you get the cost per month, you total the total cost per month. That set of costs you need to cost is called depreciation. The equipment is not going to last forever. And you are using that equipment to produce or to render that service. So you have to have a cost for that equipment in every product or service you produce. You need to know the equipment you need for your business. Like maybe for a baking business, you need a gas cooker. You need furniture too.
Yeah.
And like we're in this office right now, there's an air conditioner here, isn't it? You probably might need a fan, air conditioner. All these are equipment you need in the business. And they are all necessary for that product or service to be rendered. And they all have a lifespan. And so they must be costed. So what you do is, for each product, you estimate the cost of purchase. Let's say for our gas cooker, we bought it for 150,000 naira. And we estimate that that oven should last maybe a maximum of 5 years. After which, we may need to replace the oven. For the oven, its lifespan is 5 years. So depreciation per year will be 150,000 over 5. So for every year, you should put aside 30,000 as depreciation for that oven. And then for every month, it will become the depreciation per year divided by 12 months. So per month will be 30,000 divided by 12. 2,500 is the depreciation for the whole group. So you will sit down and list all your equipment, list the estimated cost, find out the lifespan, the expected lifespan of that equipment, then the depreciation per year, and then finally the depreciation per month. So when you do that, you have got the indirect cost of all your equipment per month. The next step is you fill out all your indirect costs. Yeah? The indirect cost of those small variable, those items you cannot really calculate, you list all of them. The indirect cost of the wages, you list them. The indirect cost of items that you pay per month, what you pay annually, you list all your, and then finally your depreciation, and at the end you add the total indirect cost per month. How do we estimate the fixed cost per item? We've calculated the indirect cost per month. I said earlier that for us to cost our products properly, we need to have the total cost of the variable cost of the product.
Yes.
That's the direct cost of the product.
Yes.
The fixed cost of the product. That's the indirect cost of the product. We need to add both of them together. Now, how much are we to add as fixed cost to each item that we produce? So we have to find what is the ratio of the fixed cost to the variable cost. To do that, we'll divide the fixed cost by the variable cost. And our fixed cost is 10,000 naira per month. In month 8, we were only able to produce 5 bags. That means that fixed cost is going to spread over only 5 bags. The rent for 1 month, which is 100,000, will be spread over only those 5 bags.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And on the other hand, if you had produced 100 bags, the rent of 100,000 a month would have spread over 100 bags. So that is the ratio of fixed cost to variable cost. And in fact, when you sit down and do these calculations, it will make you, when you are planning concerning your business, you will be very careful. Because if you know your business cannot produce 100 bags in a month, and then you go and rent a place of 100,000, would you be able to, by the time you add the cost of rent, would you be able to sell the bags? You have to weigh all that. Let's use simple numbers. The fixed cost per month, let's say the fixed cost per month was 10,000 naira. Yeah? And then that's the fixed cost per month. Let's use 20,000 naira as the estimated variable cost per month. So the ratio would have been 10,000 naira divided by 20,000 naira, which will give us 0.5%. So the variable cost is the total cost of all the items we produce, and we produced 4 items. So that means one item costs 5,000 naira. Then it means that the amount we will add to the variable cost as fixed cost will be 0.5% of 5,000. 100% is 5,000. 0.5% will be 5,000 divided by 100 times 0.5. It will be 25. Yeah? So that means we would have to add 25 naira to the 5,000 as fixed cost. So the cost of that product will be 5,025 naira. Is that clear? Is there any question?
I have a question.
Okay.
So, when you now put in Serenos,
Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous would definitely come under indirect cost. It will be amongst those small items that you cannot account for, but you can total all the miscellaneous for the whole month. Any other question?
I just want to make a comment. I think the lesson has been very interesting and it's given me particularly a clear understanding of what role our indirect costs play in whatever in our pricing.
Thank you. And that's the end of the message for today.